something outside what we've been doing in the past. And I want us to strike a balance between the church and the politics at hand. And if I may ask, I want you to tell us what is the place or the position of the church in the politics of Nigeria.
When we're growing up, we used to be told that politics is destiny. And as we grew older, we found that statement very distasteful. In the sense that if we say politics is destiny, then who makes it neat? Or who tidies it up? For me, I think the time has come for the Christian community to be actively involved in the politics of this country.
In the likes of China, developing countries. When I look at the developed countries, when I look at them, how come these people are, making waves, and the praying nations like Nigeria is behind? Is it that the church is not participating in politics?
Welcome to another beautiful time on CEC television. My name is Dapo Olorunto, and the program again is Church and Politics. Today we'll be looking at the Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2020, which was it's a new trend in the society and in the church level or in Nigerian system. And myself and my guest here will be digging deep in how this has affected the church, the way out, if we should just note and watch the situation come into practice or being established. We are going to criticize, we are going to rebuke, we are going to accept, we are going to admonish, because we are doing this from church perspective and not like a worldly way. It is my joy that you like every bit of today's program. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guest and we'll enjoy the program together. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, welcome to Church and Politics on CEC television. I said earlier that we are looking into the CAMA 2020 that is trending, and let me read quite a little of jotting I make here. The CAMA 2020 was passed by the National Assembly early this year and was signed into law on August 7th by the President Muhammadu Buhari. And while industries players have hailed the law, saying it will boost the ease of doing business, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria, has however dismissed it as satanic, adding that it would snuff life out of the church and rank it as a secular institution under secular control. Let me go further. In a statement by its president, that's the CAN president, Reverend Samson Ayokunle, CAN said the law, which repealed the Companies and Allied Matters Act 1990, bracket 1, was assented to despite its rejection at the public hearing stage. It noted that if the federal government insisted on retaining the legislation, it would be seen as a declaration of war on Christianity and an agenda to destroy the church. let me ease it there and now come to my guest. My guest today again is Mr. Nelson Ekujumi. Good to have you on the program, sir.
Thank you very much, the pleasure.
We would not just look into this from the church end. I want you to really go into details, if possible, quote. Because the church, as we speak, are losing their peace already. I've watched online, I wouldn't mention names, clergy men pouring out their anger on the government that this should be reversed. Crime as well as stated here that the karma law is satanic. Let me do a little reading from here again. That there is this column. The law, to say the least, is in
Nigeria, you're welcome to the CA Channel's Breakfast Show. My name is Peace Ufoma Magige, and I'm very sure you are surprised, as I am, to be doing this show alone today. Toke Bravo is currently on a very, very amazing journey. Trust me, by the time she is back, she will give us loads and loads of gist and gossip on the program. Once again, you're welcome to the CA Channel Breakfast Show. This is where we look at the burning issues making the rounds on the national dailies. We dissect and analyze, share our perspective, our opinions on matters that made the round on national dailies and in general on the nation that we have together. Nigeria is a wonderful place. Nigeria, all at the end of the day, all we want is that the country grows, the country develops, the country becomes a place that you and I can do our businesses, can live our lives, can just enjoy the best of the day. Once again, you're welcome to the show. We will be looking into the national dailies this morning, stories that got lucky enough to make it to the front pages on the national dailies. But we'll go on a quick break, and we'll come back, we'll take a look at all of that. A lot of things happening in Ondo State, a lot of things coming out from the just concluded APC primaries out of Ondo State. Congratulations to Aiyedatiwa on winning the party's ticket, but we're looking at a lot of that as well. Also on the economy, we have Wale Edu, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. Nigeria is currently looking out to get extra loans from the World Bank, even as we've gotten other loans, taking out other loans from the Afrexim banks and all of that. We'll be looking at so many stories this morning. You can join the program through the telephone number on your screen, and also join us on our social media handles. On Facebook, we are at CAC TV, on YouTube, CAC TV, and channel 614 on Moblex TV decoder. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Let's jump straight into the national dailies. We'll be starting this morning with The Nation newspaper. Alebioso appointed AGMD CEO of First Bank. Recently, the CEO of First Bank resigned due to so many things. There are stories under that. All of that is on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. And also, First Bank has paused its $300 million recapitalization aim. We do hope they're able to, bounce back from all of this, and the new MD CEO can take due charge of the reins that is First Bank. Alright, let's move on to page 5 of the Nation newspaper. $1.7 billion traded in 1 week on Forex window. Naira records gains. A lot of things happening on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The Naira is appreciating. Purchasing power, however, of the Naira, of the Nigerian currency, is still quite a debate. How are we sure that these appreciations that we are seeing on the Naira is not just on the foreign markets? I mean, take a look at customs, exchange, import duties rather, the exchange rates at which the customs used to clear goods into the country currently is on the high side. We do hope that will also be affected, because that alone is the issue we are having. If import duties can be reduced, we are very sure that the cost of goods and services will also come down in the country. Still on page 5 and page 6, we are having the issue of the editor's detention. NPO refers matter to media ombudsman. Olubadan appointment process on course, says Oyo government. Amazing things coming out from Oyo State recently. Banks in frantic move to put recapitalization plans on course. We do hope, the recent recapitalization announcements from the CBN, 500 million, 50 million and all that, the banks can really step up and meet with those targets. Jonathan Abdulsalam orders to discuss state police at House dialogue. State police is one issue we really need to tackle as a country, and I'm very glad that former heads of states Goodluck Ebele Jonathan and Abdulsalami and others are going to be discussing this matter at the House of Representatives. Ayedatiwa declared Ondo APC candidate amid protest. Riders there says aspirants kick as governor wins in 16 councils. Akinteriwa in EFCC custody. Nigerians have been saying a whole lot about this APC primaries in Ondo State and how everything played out. It's politics. That's just how I'm going to put it. Let's move on. Army vows to avenge killing of 2 officers, 4 soldiers in another ambush. Villagers fleeing from bandits move to government house. Okay, still moving on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Federal government set to roll out CNG powered vehicles. Well, finally, we have waited for this. We do hope we can also see this on the streets of Lagos, on the streets of Nigeria in general. The federal government planned this compressed natural gas powered buses and liquefied natural gas powered buses, as well as a cushioning effect for the fuel subsidy removal. And we have been waiting for this. It has taken a long time, but we are glad that these can finally roll out and actually reduce the cost of transportation in the country. On page 8 of the Nation newspaper, Ekiti teachers to get 138 million naira car housing loans. And poison Kwara shorts abattoir. That's on page 31 of the Nation newspaper. Do grab a copy to get details of all the stories and lots more. Alright, let's move on to the Punch newspaper. Federal government probes $500 million local content loans project. Equity market suffers 1.6 trillion naira loss in 1 week. That was on Friday last week. Army vows revenge after terrorists kill 6 soldiers. The security situation in Nigeria has to improve. It has to improve. Ondo poll. Akinteriwa orders protest as Ayedatiwa wins APC ticket. A lot happened recently in Ondo State, and we do hope that justice is served. Emefiele social programs. Emefiele social programs. Banks withhold 530 billion naira CBN funds. Cardoso may order refund. Right as to that story, Access Bank, GTB, FCMB, SMEs seek fresh loans. NFIU, NIRSL to tackle Anchor Borough's loan defaulters. CBN rolls out intervention. Okay, we'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we look more into the Punch newspaper. Stay with us. Welcome back to the CA Channel's Breakfast Show. We were looking at stories that made rounds on the national dailies before we went on that short break. We're having a look at the Punch newspaper. Let's move on to other stories still on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Federal government rolls out 2,700 CNG buses, tricycles, May 18. We can't wait. We just can't wait to have these buses around in the nation to ease transportation. So transportation is costing a whole lot. People are using about half, an entire 50% of their salaries on transportation, and Nigerians just have to move on and get into these new CNG buses, and just we really need a cushioning effect on transportation. Kwara shot abattoir to probe poisonous meat allegation. Motorists, residents stranded as flood overruns Lagos Ogun roads. The federal government came out recently to announce about these floods in Lagos, in Ogun State, and other states across the nation. We do hope state governments can look into this and really work on it. Everything does have to fall down on the federal government. State governments, we really need your assistance in ensuring that the lives and properties of people are kept together. Outrage over discrimination against Nigerians at Abuja Chinese supermarket. Do grab a copy of the Punch newspaper to get details of all the stories and lots more. Alright, let's have a look at the Guardian newspaper. Used vehicles. Import slumps 32% as dealers trade safety for survivors. Salvage titles. Well, more things coming out from imports right there on the Guardian newspaper. Bandits kill 6 soldiers, 2 vigilantes in Niger, civilians in Zamfara, Sokoto. That's on page 21 of the Guardian newspaper. Quite sad. World Bank pre-qualifies Nigeria for friendly $2.25 billion loan. Is there a friendly loan? Well, we do hope that all these loans that we are collecting, our internally generated revenues is going to be, every single time we keep hearing about 95%, about 97% internally generated revenues are being used to service debts. We keep hearing all the stories about debt management and all of that. I really do hope that we can come out of this. Currently, we are at, I think, 97 trillion naira, and we are aiming for the 100 trillion naira mark. We really cannot afford to keep borrowing more money and more money. We need to work on our productivity as a nation. Condemnation trail Ondo APC Cuba primaries. Epic Court entertains EFCC's alleged 80.2 billion naira fraud case against Bello today. APC's eternal crisis lingers as another ward ESCO issues Ganduje fresh suspension. You see, politics is, like I always say, politics is a game that has to be played. Recently, we saw all the brouhaha with the Labour Party, and now we are seeing all of this with the APC, and we also saw with the PDP. At the end of the day, parties, political parties are what they are, political parties. Nigerians need to come together as Nigerians and not really hope on a particular party to come and be the savior of the nation. These political parties have revealed times and times again that they are there for themselves and not the country, not for the improvement of the country. Nigerians, we need to come together and ensure that we are voting the right people and not just the parties. Media organizations refer Olatunji's case to Ombudsman. Stakeholders approve NUPRC of delaying $1.3 billion ExxonMobil assets deal. That's on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Do grab the details. Do grab the Guardian newspaper to get details of all the stories and lots more. Alright, we have a look now at the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Fleeing villagers seek refuge from bandits in Zamfara government house. Yes, that is what's supposed to happen. I think by the time the civilians start going to government houses for refuge, to seek protection, because I mean that is exactly why the government is there. It is stated clearly in our constitution that the government, is there for the welfare and the welfare and security of lives and properties of the people. So if we can't stay in our houses and be secured, then maybe when we come to the government houses, we will receive security there. Because you go to government houses, you see all these security agencies, a lot of them, the police officers, the military men that are supposed to protect the people are all over in government houses protecting public office holders. And then the people are left alone. Why? Well, now we are seeing fleeing villagers seeking refuge from bandits in Zamfara government houses. This is one. We do hope this doesn't spread out. The government can, take more proactive measures to curb the insecurity challenges that we're having as a nation. Alleged 80.2 billion naira fraud. EFCC, Yahaya Bello continue battle in appeal court. Answer the calls. That's all. That's what Bayo Onanuga, the media, the presidential aide to the presidential aide on media and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, said to the former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello. Answer your calls. Defend yourself. Your hands are clean, right? Defend yourself. More confusion over Ganduje's suspension. Parallel ESCO's encounter claims you don't belong to APC. Ganduje war tells the mastermind of fresh suspension. Well, it is not just alleged bribery and misappropriation of funds that the former Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje is facing. He is also facing suspension claims from the APC as national chairman of the party. RCCG pastor, others abducted in Oyo regain freedom. Wonderful. That's on page 27 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. NDLEA arrests 3 wanted drug kingpins, intercept Oman-bound drug consignment. Okay, wonderful one from the NDLEA there. 25 passengers burned to death in Kogi accident. Please, we need to be very, very careful on the roads. Protests rock Ondo over APC governorship primaries. Federal government to roll out CNG vehicles before May 29th. Media Complaints Commission to adjudicate on military's unlawful detention of First News editor Olatunji. Alright, that's all we can take on from the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Do grab a copy of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper to get details of all the stories and lots more. Once again, you're welcome to the Breakfast Show right here on the CA Channels television, channel 614 on Morplex TV decoder. My name is Peace Ufoma Magege. On the program, giving you the details and headlines and stories that made the rounds, that made the front page on the front pages of the Nigerian newspapers. We jump off for a quick break. When we come back, we get into some of the stories and we share our perspective and opinions on the matter. The phone line is also on the front page on the screen. You can call us and be a part of the conversation or leave a message for us on Facebook or YouTube at CAC TV. Good morning.
Ungodly, reprehensible, and healing wind that blows no one any good. It is a time bomb waiting to explode. That is what the camp president said. And then the controversial portion which the Christian community is frowning at are containing the section 839 bracket 1 and bracket 2, which empowers the Corporate Affairs Commission to suspend trustees of a non-profit organization, in this case the church, and appoint the interim managers to manage the affairs of the association for some given reasons bordering on mismanagement. Specifically, section 8391 of the Act empowers the CAC, that's the Corporate Affairs Commission, to suspend trustees of an organization, of an association, and appoint interim managers to manage the affairs of the association where it reasonably believes that there is or has been misconduct or mismanagement in the administration of the association. What would you like to say about this, sir?
Well, thank you very much. For me, I think we must recognize the fact that there's no perfect law anywhere in the world, just like there's no perfect society. Society is made up of, series of imperfections. But as human beings, as creations of the Almighty, we strive every day to be perfect like our Creator, who we know is the only perfect, being. So be that as it may, I find it, undemocratic for the church to be raising the rooftops. I know for a fact that that law was enacted in the National Assembly. And if you ask me, the National Assembly is populated by Nigerians from different religious faiths. I expect that the church should be conversant with democratic ethos. And what do I mean by democratic ethos? Is that this law, this Karma Act 2020, is an amendment on the Karma Act 1990, which means that the law has been amended. So I believe that if our religious leaders are really interested, in seeing in working their talk, I expect that their grievances should be tabled in a petition or in a position paper, and they should approach the National Assembly and seek an amendment of that law, because that law was not made by the executive. The function of the executive is to sign a bill into law, that is to assent, and that is what Mr. President has the constitutional responsibility to do at any point in time. So I believe that CAN as a body, being a vocal segment of the society with a huge following, if you look at the Christian folk, of which members of the Christian Association of Nigeria are also members of the National Assembly, and you will be surprised that even in the National Assembly, some members there who pass this law might be senior pastors, might be deacons in their, in their various people of high standing in their religious faith. So I expect that the grievance that the church has with regards to this law can be addressed, in a responsible, can be addressed in a democratic way. For me, I don't run a church, and I recognize. And when we are talking about church now, we are talking about all religious faith, because the law is not mainly focused on the Christian folks. It's focused on non-governmental organizations or non-profit organizations of which the church falls under. And looking at the law, for me, if a law has been promulgated that says if there is any act, if there is suspicion of act of wrongdoing, that the CAC, Corporate Affairs Commission, will approach the court based on a petition from even members of the Board of Trustees that is under question, that is under scrutiny for alleged maladministration. I think the most appropriate thing for us to do is to say, look, if we are not comfortable with this section of the law, what is the amendment that we are seeking in this on this issue?
Okay. So
that should be what should occupy our mind, for now, rather than saying the Kama law as a whole. Because if we look at the Kama law, the Kama Act, the business community have come out to hate it.
Yes.
But a segment of the Christian society are kicking against it. And even some other religious faiths, we have not had them, come out publicly to say anything against it. But for me, I recognize that in a democracy, like I always say, majority will have their way, but minority must not be deprived the opportunity of having their say. The right to be aggrieved is a natural right. And when people are aggrieved, it behoves on us to examine their grievances and put it to rigorous examination so that we come to mutual understanding. Even in coming to mutual understanding, it is not possible for us as a society to satisfy every segment, but we must be seen to be doing justice to the greatest majority of the people, just like Jeremy Bentham's opined in his utilitarian principle. The greatest good of the greatest number should be the focus. So the Kama Act, the church is kicking against that section that empowers the CAC to appoint an interim board to oversee the running of the church, the run of the organization. This time we are not talking about whether it's the church or an NGO. We are talking about the law. Does not specifically say the church. The law talks about non-profit organizations, organizations that are set up for humanitarian causes, and that is part of where the church falls into. So if we have any misgivings, it is not out of place, because now we are saying you don't want this. You must be able to tell us what you want.
Okay.
What is the way forward?
Okay.
A law has been made. If we have questions with the law, it's for us to put a position paper and go back to the National Assembly, and the church has enough influence to make sure that there is a tinkering with that law, and that is what I expect the church to do.
Wow. What I sense is fear, and I will put it in this form: that who is afraid of the law of karma? Why is the church afraid of the law of karma? And what is the church afraid of?
If you ask me, looking at the law and looking at the opera, we came together. I came up with this idea. This is my business, or this is what we do. So whatever we do here should not be subjected to scrutiny by anybody. Forgetting the fact that some of the privileges we enjoy is because of the fact that you have the seal of the authority of state. Because as a non-governmental organization, for you to be able to avail some services, you must be registered. You must have the seal of incorporation that look like legal entity. In that way, you can legally engage the system. So I think people, or maybe because if we continue to say the church now, to seem as if the focus of the law, I'm very, very careful about that. I don't want people to misconstrue that law is targeted against the church. The law is targeted about bringing financial, prudency. It's about bringing accountability to the running of non-governmental organizations. We are all aware in this country how, for example, a lot of times when we look at the crisis in the Northeast, the Boko Haram insurgency, some persons have opined that why that crisis still persists is because some non-governmental organizations have been getting international funding. So they want the crisis, to continue to escalate, because the more the crisis lingers on, the more the funding continues, that they need funds to take care of the IDPs, they need funds to provide this and that, and they continue to live on that. So I don't see anything wrong in somebody setting up a business, and if your business has the authority of state to engage the citizenry, if the law says you should submit yourself to public accountability, don't forget the public accountability that we are talking about. The CAC cannot, on its own by fiat, set up an interim board for the non-governmental, non-profit organization. It has to be with the approval, with an order of a court of law. And you and I know for sure that what has happened in that law is that law is going to involve the three arms of government. The law has passed through the legislature. It has been assented to by the executive. The implementation or the interpretation of that law now rests with the judiciary. So I think we should be more concerned with petition to the Corporate Affairs Commission, and the Corporate Affairs Commission will approach the court for enforcement of the setting up of a new board of trustees, an interim board. So for me, I'm home and dry with the law, but if some people say they are vexed,
okay,
it is within their rights.
All right. Let's put it there, sir. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we will talk further on Karma Act 2020. Yeah, welcome back. If you are just joining us, it is Church and Politics on CAC Television, and we are having a quite interesting time on the program. It is today we are looking at the Allied Matters Act 2020, which had to do with the Karma Act. So my guest has been Mr. Nese Kujumi, and he's doing quite an interesting job on the issue. So, sir, we'll be looking at it from this angle. What are the rules? Because every law has its rules and has its blessings. So I'd like you to give us your view on that.
Well, thank you very much. For now, the law has not been, has not been tested.
Okay.
It's a new baby. Maybe when the baby learns how to crawl and walk, we'll see whether the baby will come up with a straight leg, or a bow leg, or a key leg. That is for the law. But be that as it may, I see this baby growing up. I see it bringing about financial probity in these organizations that it is, focused on. I see it as one bringing inclusion, so that one man or one woman will not feel that, because this NGO or this non-profit organization is my baby, then I can do whatever I like with him or her. You will know for sure that every person that I've subscribed
back. It is still the CA Channel's Breakfast Show. Once again, my name is Peace Ufoma Magige. It's time for us to look at some of the stories that made the rounds on the national dailies and, you know, have a look at them, share perspectives, share opinions, and, you know, in general, look at the stories and see how they play out, how they unfolded on the nation. We'll be starting with the protests that broke out recently in Ondo State over the just concluded APC or Progressive Congress governorship primary election. And once again, congratulations to the winner of the primaries, the declared winner, Aye Datiwa. The protesters called for the cancellation of the ward primaries and the removal of the chairman of the election committee, Governor Usman Ododo. Some members of the All Progressive Congress in Akure, the Ondo State capital, took to the streets on Sunday, yesterday, to protest what they termed irregularities and biased conduct of the ward primaries across the state on Saturday. The ward primaries meant to produce the governorship candidate of the party for the November 16, 2024 governorship election in the state has been marred with non-availability of election materials. The protesters called for the cancellation of the ward primaries. A lot happened recently in Ondo State, and, you know, protesters stormed the APC state secretariat in Akure to display their displeasure to the alleged irregularities in the conduct of the ward primaries across the 203 wards of the state. Most of them are supporters of one of the aspirants, Olushola Oke, and they carried different placards calling on the National Secretariat to remove the chairman of the primary election committee and Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo. The protesters described the process as a daylight robbery and urged the National Secretariat of the All Progressive Congress not to allow the state to be embroiled in crisis. One of the protesters claimed that no ward primaries were held, insisting that the guidelines given by the National Secretariat of the party were not followed, as the committee did not distribute materials to any of the wards. The party members warned of likely consequences if an unpopular candidate is imposed on them, as it could affect the chances of the party in the governorship election. A lot happened in Ondo State recently, and persons have come out to say, look, these this primary was irregular. Even an aspirant, we'll be looking at also the second topic we have today on the stories, even when we have one of the aspirants, a female aspirant, that came out also seeking the cancellation of the Ondo APC primary and also threatened court action. We'll have a look at that story right about now. Recently, Folakemi Omogoroye, a female aspirant in the Saturday's governorship primaries of the All Progressive Congress, has called for the immediate cancellation of the poll. You see, it is not just the followers of Oke, but also the female aspirant Omogoroye, I beg your pardon, also calling for the cancellation of the poll. In a statement yesterday, she claimed the primary failed to take place as anticipated, though the chairman of the committee of the poll, Governor Usman Ododo of Kogi State, said the primary took place in the 203 wards in the state, with that of 13 wards in the Okitipupa local government area of the state held on Saturday, that's Ondo State. However, one of the 16 aspirants jostling for the APC ticket for the November 16, 2024 governorship election in the state said, and I quote, "There was no election anywhere, decrying what she described as a complete rape on democracy." Folakemi Omogoroye lamented the absence of election officials and voting materials at voting centers, saying her own supporters were unable to exercise their right to vote. She called upon the party's leader, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to intervene and annul the purported election. She threatened also legal action if her demand for a fresh and transparent election is not met. She said, and I quote, "I am not going to accept it, and now I am calling for cancellation, and if this is not done, maybe we will meet in court." Olugbenga Edema, Olushola Oke, and Adewale Akinteriwa have also condemned the conduct of the exercise and called for a cancellation. Meanwhile, protests broke out yesterday, like we looked at earlier on, in Akure, the Ondo State capital, as some party members demanded the annulment of the exercise and removal of Usman Ododo, the Kogi State governor, as the committee's chair. Usman Ododo is expected to announce the winner, which he has already declared Aiyedatiwa as the winner of the exercise. You see, a lot is always happening when it comes to election period in the country. Many a time, just like we saw in the general election last year, we see irregularities, we see discrepancies, we see issues. At the end of the day, there are calls for cancellations, there are calls for annulments, and it just begs the question, when would Nigeria get to a stage where we are going to see and have free and fair elections? We've not gotten information from the committees, from the election officials, why election did not hold in those wards, in those areas of the state. All of this that we are seeing is just, you know, like I always call them, party politics. When it happens and a particular party wins a general election, and all this, we are seeing all these allegations, we are seeing all these irregularities, party members are always happy when their party win a general election. But when it happens to them, take for example this present November 14th governorship election that is forthcoming, this one is just at the APC. We have not seen it happen. We've not seen, you know, we've not heard of issues from other political parties in the state. But APC is the top party in the state, and governor, the former governor, the outgoing governor, who could also become the incumbent governor, Aiyedatiwa, Governor Aiyedatiwa, who might, from what we have been seeing now, has won the APC governorship election, governorship primary election in Ondo State. We do hope that we get to see, you know, good news playing out, and all this crisis and all this protest comes to an end. As a nation, we should, I feel Nigeria should have grown out of all this. I mean, a rape on democracy, like Folakemi described it, is not the way to go as a nation. We'll jump off for a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at the federal government getting fresh $2.2 billion loan from the World Bank. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's go straight into the story we're about to look at before we went on that bridge. The federal government is set to get fresh $2.2 billion World Bank loan. This one is coming from Wale Edu, the Minister of the Minister of the Economy and Coordinating Minister, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. We'll go straight into the story. The federal government is expecting a fresh $2.2 billion single-digit interest loan from the World Bank and another budget support facility from the African Development Bank. The federal government is, you know, expecting this fresh $2.2 billion loan on a single-digit interest, which is about 1%. The Minister of Finance, Wale Edu, disclosed this during a press briefing at the end of Nigeria's activities at the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund spring meetings in Washington, D.C. in the United States. While speaking on the sources of international funding to the Nigerian economy, Wale Edun listed diaspora remittances, foreign portfolio investment and facilities from the World Bank and other international development partners. More still coming out. He also said that Nigeria has qualified for the processing just this week to the board of directors of the World Bank of a total package of $2.25 billion of what you can call the closest, according to him, you can get to a free lunch, virtually a grant. It's for about 10 to 20 years moratorium and about 1% interest. Amazing. In addition, there is, and this is still on the quotes of Wale Edun, the Minister of Finance. In addition, there is a similar budgetary support, low interest funding from the African Development Bank, and clearly there are also ongoing discussions with foreign direct investors across many sectors. Wale Edun tapped issuing dollar-dominated securities specifically targeted at Nigerians in the diaspora and those with foreign-dominated savings in Nigeria as another measure to attract forex inflows into the country. He said the federal government hoped to issue the bonds later this year. He highlighted the efforts of the fiscal side of the economy in complement to the recent monetary policy reforms by the Central Bank of Nigeria. He said that issuing government securities at an interest rate closer to the CBN's monetary policy rate was an indication of the collaboration between both sides of the economy in tackling inflation in the country and attracting forex inflows. He listed the agricultural sector as one area of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration was looking to spur growth in the medium term, noting that efforts in that area included the distribution of fertilizers and seeds to reduce food prices and enhance food security. Just to put a pause there, when we look at security now, looking at the agricultural sector, it's one thing to give farmers fertilizers and seeds to go back to the farms to reduce food prices, for more crop production and enhance food security. It's another thing for them to actually have these, access to their own farmlands to farm, to get these crops. It's another thing to, be secured in their farmlands. Have we looked into security? How much have been put into, security measures in the country? The amount of money that is going into the ministry of defense is a lot, in billions, running into billions and billions of naira. Yet we keep having stories of people being killed. We are seeing in Zamfara villagers now running into government houses for refuge. We are seeing vigilantes, the military coming out to say about 6 military officers were killed. Vigilantes are killed. We keep hearing these insecurity issues. Farmers are not going back to their farms, and many a time we've heard of this distribution of fertilizers and seeds. We at the end of the day not see these things get to those end users. They don't get to the end users. What is happening? It's not just for us to hear all this. We want to see them being implemented in the Nigerian economy. And a low interest, single interest loan that the country is collecting, $2.2 billion. It is a huge amount of money, to be quite honest, and taking into the consideration that we already have our loans. Currently we have about 97 trillion naira in debt. It's a whole lot. Let's see other parts of the stories before we call it a day on the program. Other programs, according to the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, are increasing power generation to about 6,000 megawatts within 6 months, provision of infrastructure, especially housing, with the goal of making low-interest mortgages available to Nigerians, revamping the social investment program, and proposed economic stabilization plan. Many things that we need to look at for in the country. A whole lot: mortgage plans, economic stabilization plans, low interest mortgage available to Nigerians, revamping the social investment program that, you know, we had the Better Educate crisis there. A lot going on. It's one thing for us to be hearing all of this as a country, and we are seeing the efforts by the government. However, as Nigerians, we the people are really not, you know, seeing the impact on all these things. It's like we are hearing these stories from the government, but these stories that we are hearing are just what it is, stories. It's not really impacting on the people. It's not really impacting on the lives of the people. Improved power infrastructure, improved about 6,000 megawatts in power, improved infrastructure, all these things. We don't want to keep hearing national collapse being fallen, national grid being collapsing. You know, we do hope that the nation, you know, works and things get better. Well, this is how much we can take on today's edition of the Breakfast Show on the CA channel. Breakfast Show. It's been a lovely time holding it down for you on the program. We do hope tomorrow you will stay with us, you will stick with us on the program. Remember, subscribe to our social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, CAC TV. Do get your Moreplex decoder and reach out to us on our channel 614. Do have yourself a lovely day once again. My name is Peace Ufuma Magege. I will pray for a lovely Nigeria and a prosperous nation. Do have yourself a peaceful day.
To the ideas of that organization becomes, you know, a voice that you cannot just, you know, gloss over or look down upon.
Okay.
You know that in as much as you are the leader, even the followers also have a responsibility, you know, with regards to the up and doing of the organization. So by and large, I see, for me, I'm not on the same page with Khan.
Okay.
With regards to the Ikama Act. I'm not on the same page with Khan. But I can't begrudge them.
Okay.
If they say they are vexed with particular provisions of the law. Because, you know, like we always say, variety is the spice of life. And that is why our people say one man's meat is another man's poison. So, but, you know, they are right to be aggrieved, they are right to hear their views. It's a constitutional and national right, and natural right, which we must, as a responsible society, as a society that wants to hold our own in the Committee of Nations, we should listen to their grievances and try, you know, to in a civil way, discuss these issues and, you know, allay their fears. That look, this law is meant for A, B, C, D. If you have any problem about that, please can you come up with your own position paper on the amendment that we can do? Because, like we said the other day, there's this Yoruba program that Omodegbon Agbagmo Lavidali Ife, you know, the society is made up of multiplicity of interests, of, you know, of persons. So we can take their views and, you know, an amendment can be made to that law that will neutral down the voice of opposition to that part, because they are particularly vexed with regards to that provision paragraph that you have just read when we started this program. So for me, I see this law, the Ikama Act 2020, as an improvement on the 1990 Act, and I see it as one, I agree with the business community, because it has made provisions for ease of doing business, which we have always clamored for, but we still need to go a step further. And that is why I said earlier on that no law is a finality in itself. The law you can wake up tomorrow morning, or even as we are sitting down here, some people are already coming up with a position paper that, look, this is the flaw in this law. Can we go this way? And, you know, a dynamic society must always explore such avenues, looking at things, you know, in a civilized manner and subjecting it to logical scrutiny. So I see this law as majorly one that will bring about, you know, probity and accountability with regards to the management of affairs of non-governmental organizations or non-profit organizations. I see it as one that will, in a way, curb the abuse of resources in these organizations. I see it as one that will bring about a sense of ownership, even in the board of trustees. That the board of trustees, you know that as a member of the board of trustees, that if this baby crumbles, you also crumble with it. It will not be as if, oh, it is not my business. I was just made a member of the board of trustees. Because if the board of trustees name gets tarnished, definitely if your name is on that board, you also go down with it. Then the era of one man assuming that because the idea of the non-profit organization is his own, so he can do whatever he or she likes with it without recourse to the law. This Hamas, will definitely erode that. That look, you cannot be lord of the manor. You are responsible, to the law. You are responsible to the people that you are meant to serve.
You see, it's a good one. I think from the church angle, the church is considering this act as a meddling. Like it's like the church wants to meddle with the affairs of the church. That they are pugnosing into church privacy. Like and people are asking, how well has Nigeria been managed? That we have, that is the church not managing their affairs better off government institutions?
Well, if we say the church has managed its affairs very well and the state has mismanaged their affairs, that is the major purpose of this program, that we should transfer, or how should I say, we should transport the godly ways that we run the church into the light. But if you feel that because this larger society is now saying that, look, you have to be accountable, if you see it as meddling, then I believe there is more to it than meets the eye. Because the church cannot exist without the society. The church cannot be an island on its own.
Okay.
But be that as it may, even as at that, if the church knows that, look, whatever we are doing here is based on the principles of the Almighty, then the church has nothing to fear.
What should the church do if they don't want this law to remain?
The law has come to stay. The law is already a law.
Okay.
It's already a law.
You see, they can requested for a reverse. And you said it can be amended.
Definitely.
So if that is possible, what are the things the church must do?
The things the church must do, because the church is a very critical voice in any society. The church should come up with a position paper on the way forward.
Okay.
Because if we say the law, this paragraph of the law is satanic, you must be able to point out the satanism in that paragraph. Then you must come up with a paragraph that will be godly. So that when you now take that position paper, you approach the National Assembly. The church as a body has representatives in the National Assembly. The church should approach the National Assembly. The church should galvanize even other religious faiths to see from its own, viewpoint that, look, this is what I'm doing. Because whether you like it or not, the democracy is about the majority anyway. So if you have a position and you cannot mobilize, you cannot lobby, you cannot talk to people, that look, this is the danger this thing poses to our togetherness. This is the danger this law poses to our operations. Then you might be speaking in the air. So the church needs to, rather than coming out and saying this law will not stand, we will reject it, the church should behave in a civilized and democratic way by putting up a position paper on the law and stating X, why they feel X should be expunged, and what should be done. It's not, it's not a fait accompli. The law is that the society is dynamic, so also the law must be dynamic. Just like Jesus said, man was not made for the law. The law was made for man. So whatever man wants at any point in time, he can amend the law to suit that purposes, because society is ever changing. Circumstances are ever, no two situations are the same. So the church now has expressed its anger, its rejection against the law. But the church must also be very focused and ensure that she's not going to sweep away the baby with the bathwater just because of that so-called offensive paragraph. The church must say, okay, this is the Karma Act. This is where we find problems with. This is what we want done here. Then the church should take the position paper to the National Assembly and mount pressure on the National Assembly using members of the National Assembly who are members of their religious faith, as well as those who are also on the other side of the divide, to see them, because democracy is about carrying people along. When you carry people along, you make them serious. Democracy is about debates. It's about discussions. Democracy is not about shouting or to say no. It's about, if you say no, what do you want? How do we go forward? Democracy is about dialogue. They must be ready to judge. It's not about war. So the church should put its position paper together and approach the National Assembly. And if they now feel that, look, this aspect of the act has infringed on our constitutional right to worship,
yes,
as enshrined in the Constitution, the courts are there.
Okay. We are getting to the close of it, and I just want you to minute on this a little, that if this law is to stay, I'm a member of the church, you're a member of the church, what do we stand to gain?
What we stand to gain is that there will be financial accountability, there will be proper management of resources of the church, because there will be a supervisory agency that has the power now, unlike before, where you can do anything and go scot-free with it, to intervene in the run of the church. And also what this has shown about the law is that if a member of the church feels that, look, the resources of the church is being mismanaged, that person has a right to petition the appropriate agency of state, and the appropriate agency of state will do the needful. So it means that as a member of the church, you are not just a worshipper. Since you are a financial member of the church whose contribution keeps the church running, I think the law is trying to tell you that, look, you must be interested in how the resources that you are contributing to the church is being utilized, so that it is utilized judiciously, and not maybe the other way, that will not serve the purpose for which that organization was established. Because I know for a fact that every organization has a motto, has a principle behind it, has its focus, that this is what it wants to do. So at every point in time, the law will ensure that the non-profit organization keeps on track, keeps its eye on the ball, so that it is not distracted, and everything will go smoothly.
Wow. Thank you again for coming on the program, and thank you for your insight. For me, I think we have come to a close of the program on Karma Act 2020. Mr. Anese Kujumi, thanks for coming, sir.
It's a pleasure.
You've always been there for us, and we are not taking this for granted. And our people watching from every part of the world, we are saying the Karma law should not be a reason to curse God. It should not be a reason to curse the government. We should just follow due process, approach the necessary bodies, make our grievances known in a legal way. Let's not make this look like except we curse the government, this can't be reversed. No, Jesus didn't have to do that in his time. He just had to bear the cross. So I believe this is a cross coming on us that we must bear. But we are open to challenge things we want to see happen and things we don't want to see happen. My name is Dapo Olawuto, and I'm saying bye-bye for now.